She banged her fist on the old wooden door and screamed, "Open up right now! You're in violation of HOA rules!" My grandpa, 78 years old, shuffled slowly to the porch, holding his cane. "Violation?" he muttered. "Lady, I've lived here longer than you've been alive." But she wasn't alone. Two bulky men in fake security uniforms stood behind her, hands on their belts like they were police. Karen, the loudest voice in the neighborhood, pointed at Grandpa's pickup truck parked by the barn. "That rusty thing's not allowed on community property. If you don't move it, we'll tow it tonight." Grandpa narrowed his eyes, calm but sharp. "That barn, that driveway, that's my land. Been in this family since 1948. You got no right stepping here." The bigger fake cop smirked. "We are the right HOA enforcement. Move the truck, or we move it for you." He took a step closer, his boots crunching the gravel. Grandpa leaned heavier on his cane, but his voice didn't shake. "Son, you don't want to push me today." Karen laughed, her shrill voice echoing down the street. "What's he gonna do? Call the sheriff? Please, the HOA runs this neighborhood now." She shoved a paper at his chest, a flimsy notice with a crooked HOA stamp. Grandpa didn't take it. He just stared, his jaw tightening. Then, almost too quietly for them to hear, he said, "Funny thing is, that truck isn't the only thing from 1948 I still keep." The fake cop tilted his head, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" Grandpa's lips curled into the faintest grin. "You'll find out if you step foot in my barn."
Grandpa turned his back on them and started walking toward the barn, slow and steady with his cane. Karen shouted after him, "Don't you dare ignore me! I'll have the HOA board fine you every single day until that junk is gone." The two fake cops looked at each other. Then one of them muttered, "Let's just drag that truck out right now." Grandpa didn't even look back. "Step foot on my land, and you'll regret it." His tone wasn't loud, but it was heavy, like he meant every word. Karen smirked. "Regret it? He's bluffing. Get it done." The bigger guy swaggered toward the barn, clearly trying to look tough. He yanked at the chain on the gate, but it didn't budge, locked tight. He spat on the dirt, then barked, "Old man, give us the key or we'll break it." That's when Grandpa finally stopped walking. He lifted his cane and tapped it twice against the gravel, almost like a warning. "You know what my daddy told me when he handed me this land?" he asked, his voice calm, steady. He said, "Never let a thief think he's the law." Karen rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, he's giving speeches now." She turned to the second fake cop. "Go help him, break it open." The two men started pulling tools from their belts, trying to force the gate. The sound of metal screeching against metal cut through the quiet night. Neighbors peeked through their blinds, phones glowing, but nobody stepped in. Everyone was scared of Karen. Grandpa took one more step toward the barn. His cane tapped against the ground, but this time it sounded different, hollow, because under that spot of gravel was something buried, something only he knew about. He leaned down, brushed away the loose stones with his shoe, and revealed a metal box hidden just beneath the surface. He lifted it with a grunt, and the men froze for a moment, confused. Karen scoffed, "What is that? Some kind of treasure chest?" Grandpa popped the lid open. Inside, wrapped in an old cloth, lay a polished Colt revolver, the very same his father had carried since 1948. He slid it free, spun the cylinder, and with a sharp click, everyone on the street realized one thing. It wasn't just for show. It was still loaded. The click of that revolver echoed louder than any shout. The two fake cops froze, their tools halfway to the chain. Karen's smug smile faltered for the first time, but she forced out a shaky laugh.
You can't just wave a gun around. That's illegal. Put it down before you shoot yourself, old man. Grandpa raised the Colt steady in one hand, his cane balanced in the other. His eyes never left the men. Illegal? He said, voice calm, almost cold. Lady, this piece of iron has defended this land longer than you've been bossing people around. I don't miss. The bigger thug tried to puff up his chest. You wouldn't dare fire that. You're bluffing. Grandpa cocked the hammer back with a snap. Try me. The smaller one panicked. Man, forget this! We didn't sign up to get shot over some old truck. He started backing away, but Karen grabbed his arm, hissing, Don't you dare run! Do you know how much money this neighborhood pays me to keep order? Grandpa barked a short laugh. Order? Is that what you call smashing windows and trespassing on my land? You're not order. You're cowards playing dress-up. The sound of doors opening carried across the street, neighbors stepping onto their porches, phones pointed, recording every second. Karen noticed and tried to shout over them, Don't film this! He's threatening lives with a firearm! Someone call the police! Grandpa turned slightly, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Go ahead, call the real police. I'll be right here, standing on my land, holding what's mine. Let them decide who's in the wrong. Karen's face twisted, realizing her control was slipping fast. She snapped her fingers at the bigger fake cop. Take the gun from him! Do it! The man hesitated, sweat rolling down his neck. But then, slowly, he started walking toward Grandpa, his hands open like he was going to rush him. The crowd murmured nervously. Grandpa didn't move an inch. He just muttered under his breath, My father taught me, never draw unless you mean it. His finger hovered near the trigger. That's when red and blue lights flared at the end of the street. A real sheriff's cruiser rolled up, siren wailing. The crowd gasped. Karen spun around, panicked, waving her arms. Over here! Arrest him! He's threatening everyone with a firearm! Someone call the police! Grandpa turned slightly, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Go ahead, call the real police. I'll be right here, standing on my land, holding what's mine. Let them decide who's in the wrong. Karen's face twisted, realizing her control was slipping fast. She snapped her fingers at the bigger fake cop. Take the gun from him! Do it! The man hesitated, sweat rolling down his neck. But then, slowly, he started walking toward Grandpa, his hands open like he was going to rush him. The crowd murmured nervously. Grandpa didn't move an inch. He just muttered under his breath, My father taught me, never draw unless you mean it. His finger hovered near the trigger. That's when red and blue lights flared at the end of the street. A real sheriff's cruiser rolled up, siren wailing. The crowd gasped. Karen spun around, panicked, waving her arms. Over here! Arrest him! He's threatening everyone with a firearm! Someone call the police! But the sheriff who stepped out of the car wasn't just any officer. He looked straight at my grandpa and said, Well, I'll be damned. Sergeant Walker? The crowd went dead silent.
Karen's jaw dropped when she heard the sheriff's words. Sergeant Walker? She repeated, her voice cracking. The sheriff walked up the driveway, shaking his head in disbelief. I thought you moved out of state after the service. Didn't know you were still here. Grandpa lowered the Colt just enough to rest it at his side, but he didn't holster it. Still here, he said quietly. Still watching over this land. And now I've got these fools pretending to be cops, breaking into my barn. The sheriff's eyes shifted to the two fake officers, their badges glinting cheap under the streetlight. His tone hardened instantly. Those aren't department issue. Take your hands off your belts, now. The bigger one muttered, We're with HOA enforcement. HOA enforcement my ass. Impersonating law enforcement is a felony. You boys want to spend the night in federal lockup? The smaller thug's courage evaporated. He threw his hands up right away. The bigger one clenched his jaw but slowly backed away from the barn. The sheriff nodded.
Good choice. Karen rushed forward desperate, her fake authority slipping like sand through her fingers. Sheriff, you don't understand. This man, he pulled a gun on us. He threatened us in front of the whole neighborhood. The sheriff's gaze cut through her like a knife. Lady, I've known this man longer than you've known what HOA even stands for. He fought for this country, carried this sidearm into places you've only seen on TV. If he raised it, he had a reason. The crowd stirred, whispers growing louder. Phones kept recording, neighbors shaking their heads at Karen. She stomped her foot like a spoiled child. No, this is my neighborhood. I run this place. He needs to go. Grandpa finally raised his voice, steady and commanding. Karen, this land isn't yours. It's mine. And I've bled more for this dirt than you ever will for your silly HOA rules. He turned to the sheriff. But I'm done arguing. Handle them before I do something I'll regret. The sheriff nodded, already reaching for his cuffs. Gladly. And as the sheriff stepped closer, Karen's voice cracked into a scream. Wait! You don't know the whole story! The sheriff paused, brows furrowed. What story? Karen's face twisted. He doesn't even own this land anymore. I've got papers that prove it. She reached into her purse, pulling out a thick folder. For the first time, even Grandpa looked surprised.